Hey everyone, got about a minute before we get started at 6:30. My name is Angie Pace and I'm going to lead us through some yoga this evening. So if this is your first time kind of coming across this class, just know that we do this every Monday night at 6:30 and we go for about 45 minutes. And this is a free class. We stream it from this Neva Lomason library page. And hey, Cindy. So you're welcome to join any Monday that you want to. This is pretty much all levels are welcome. Even if you have to kind of relegate it to a sitting position the whole time, like a chair yoga sort of format, that's fine too. You could just move your arms with us and focus on the breath, focus on that presence. And if you have them available, since we're all practicing probably from home, streaming this, grab a couple of blocks and grab a strap, because those will be the items that we're going to be working with tonight. Also, I just about forgot, but a blanket as well. I'm going to sit on the edge of this blanket as we get started. So I think it's time now. Yep, right on the dot, 6:30. So let's bring the hands together at the chest and let's begin. Namaste. So just taking a moment to find your alignment, sitting up nice and tall, rooting down through your sits bones. And if you have a hard time finding those, you can always bring your hands out in front of you, take your bottom off of the ground slightly, and then when you set it back down, imagine as though you're sort of plugging in. And then a lot of times you can find those sits bones either side of the base of the spine. Feel your weight evenly distributed between both sides of the body. Inhale, lift the shoulders up toward your ears, and then exhale and roll them back downward. Maybe let the palms of the hands rest facing up toward the ceiling. And just moving, wiggling in any way that you need to adjust to make yourself comfortable and to feel as though you're in better alignment. I'm going to feel this slight lift through the chest, the sternum. And so the chest is nice and broad when we do that, open. And that's actually going to be our focus, our sequence focus tonight is heart openers. So we're going to do a good bit with back bending tonight, some gentle back bends, and kind of warm through the practice as we go a little deeper. The main thing is that we're going to listen to our own bodies, and so you just do what's available to you. Don't worry about pushing further than that. Just do what you can, and know that each time that you practice, each time that you get on your mat, you're deepening your yoga practice. So just a few more breaths here. Maybe close the eyes. You could send your gaze down the tip of the nose, just really grounding now. And you may have seen on social media, today is International Peace Day. And so I thought heart openers would be an appropriate focus, because if we can be open through the heart in a healthy way, then we're going to be more likely to treat ourselves peacefully and to cultivate that peace for ourselves as well as for our community, for others. So throughout our session tonight, as we get more active here in just a second, keep that intention close to your heart. Just a few more breaths here. And then if you do have the eyes closed, you can blink them open, bring your gaze back to neutral, and we will get started. I'm going to come off of my blanket, put that to the side there. I'm going to change the crossing of my legs. So I'm going to come into my non-dominant crossing, and you do the same, just to even things out as best you can. And just taking a breath or two here, so we feel nice and balanced and good alignment. And as the breath flows out, we're just going to tuck the chin toward the chest. Now, as you do that, keep your shoulders rolled open, and then inhale, roll your head toward your left side, and then exhale back to center. Inhale, other side, and then exhale back to center. And just sort of follow the rhythm of your breath, moving to one side as you breathe in, tucking the chin back to center as you breathe out. Just nice, gentle movements. Again, we're going to get more active here before long. We're just going to start out slowly. And then one more visit to the side. And then tucking your chin back toward your chest. Inhale, lifting your head back up. And we're going to go into some shoulder rolls here. So just rolling the shoulders back. Big shoulder rolls. Still sitting up nice and tall. And we have to kind of have a little bit of alignment, or a little bit of activation rather, through the core in order to maintain this sitting pose. So then roll the shoulders forward. Nice big circles forward. And a lot of times until we start moving and stretching through the shoulders and the neck, we aren't aware necessarily of tension that we might be holding on to. So just notice any tension that maybe you didn't notice before. And then take a big breath in. As the breath flows out, we're just going to bring the hands out in front of us and work our way into a forward fold here. So just folding forward, hinging from your hips. You want to keep those sits bones reaching down, back behind you. And when we do that, while reaching out through that heart center in front of us, getting a nice opening stretch to the back body. I'm going to tuck my chin just a little bit so that I can keep my neck long and not bring any compression there into the neck, into the cervical spine. You might have your elbows on the ground. Just make sure wherever you are, there's no pain. You're able to breathe, and you are able to the best of your ability, maintain your alignment. Start bringing yourself back upright. Okay? So coming on to the hands and the knees. Keep up with the fact that we are in our non-dominant crossing, because when we come back to this sitting position, we'll come into a dominant crossing. So take your time coming on to the hands and knees. Now here's where, if you do have that blanket, it may come in handy as extra cushion for the knees, just depending on if you need that or not and what surface you are working on. All right, so make those adjustments if you need to. And then we're going to come on to the hands and the knees. We're going to have the heels of the hands underneath the shoulders, okay? And then the knees will be right underneath your hips. And from here, we're going to start to reach the hips back into our first child's pose. Now, for this child's pose, we may use the blocks here if we have them. If you don't, you can do this without the blocks too. We're going to set those blocks to set them up to where they are shoulder width apart as well. And then we're going to place the elbows on top of the blocks. You might take the knees a little wider if you need some extra space here. And then walking those elbows forward as we reach the hips back, palms of the hands are together, and we just rest the forehead as the hands come back behind the neck here. Breathing deeply, opening through the shoulders, through the armpits. We have a little bit of opening through that heart center as well. We're going to be here for about 7 more cleansing breaths. One more breath here. Make sure that you can feel your abdomen pressing into your thighs with each inhalation. 2 more breaths. And then slowly start to lift the head up. Start to take the hands back down, coming back to the hands and the knees. If you were using your blocks, just set those off to the side for now. And then if you did take the knees a little wider, you're going to bring the knees back underneath your hips at this point. So from this neutral sort of tabletop positioning, we're going to start to bring awareness into the core. And that entire core girdle, bracing it. And then as you inhale again from there, keep that brace of the core, but come into your dog tilt, extending through the spine, lifting the sits bones, lifting the crown of the head. And then exhale, and curling, tucking the chin, rounding through the spine. Back and forth, inhaling into your dog tilt. And then exhaling into cat. 3 more, inhale. And then exhale, really pulling. It's like you're squeezing that navel in as you come into that rounded scared cat. 2 more. This is a nice one to really practice syncing up the breath with the body, the movements. 1 more pulse here. So this strengthening stretch is good to do on a daily basis. These feel really good in the morning, shortly after waking up. Let's press back into child's pose here. You can have the arms extended out. You could have your hands or your fists stacked, or you could even have your arms down by your side. See what feels best to you. And go ahead, give yourself the permission to come into child's pose whenever you need to, whenever you need to take a rest. Doesn't matter what I'm kind of directing us to do. We're just going to take care of ourselves. So if you need to come into child's pose and take a break, then you can rejoin the class whenever you're ready. Okay? So from here, coming back to the hands and the knees, and then coming into that dominant crossing. All right? So sitting up tall. We're going to take a little bit of side bends here. And so have a block handy on your left side. You may or may not use it. So inhale, reach that left arm up. And as you exhale, keep your right sit bone grounded, that right hip grounded, and reach that left arm out to the side. Now here, if the elbow can come down to the block, that's another option. But notice I'm not just completely collapsing into that left side. I'm trying to keep the length of the left side. Also getting this nice lengthening stretch through the right side of the body as I reach that right arm over the head. And I could, if my neck were feeling tender, I could be looking sort of down toward the ground on the left side. I could be looking straight out. Or if you can find this rotation on the right side of the chest up towards the ceiling, then you could turn and look up toward the ceiling or the sky if you're outside practicing right now. 1 more breath here. And then as the breath flows out, we're just going to start to bring that right hand down. So now, let me scoot back a little bit. We're actually folding over that left knee. Still keeping this right hip grounded as best we can. And then from there, I'm just going to start to walk my hands out in front. So here I am in the fold, but just with this dominant crossing now. Put a block on your right side if you think you might need it, because we're going to walk over and have the hands positioned to where you're folding as best you can over that right knee. You notice I'm not, looking straight ahead. And I have my chin tucked to keep the neck nice and long. And then from here, I'm just going to start to open up and then bring this left arm up and over the left side of the head. Again, if it feels okay and you can rest that right elbow, right forearm on the block, then do that. Looking down, looking out, or looking up, whatever works best for you. Keeping this left hip grounded the whole time. Big opening through the left side body, and then slowly bringing yourself back upright. Move the blocks out of your way. Come back to the hands and the knees. Again, you want the knees under your hips here. And we're going to inhale into our dog tilt. Exhale, cat. Inhale, dog tilt again, but this time curl your toes under, and then exhale, send your hips up into that first downward facing dog that we're doing together anyways. You might have done one today at some point. But just breathing deeply, take a big breath in. As the breath flows out, lower the knees and again press back into child's pose. Just one more breath, so we're not going to be here for long. We're going to come back up to the hands and the knees. All right, so start sliding that left knee a little closer in toward your midline, and that's going to make it easier to balance as we extend this right leg out behind you. Okay, so reaching that right leg back behind you, and I keep running into the couch, so let me see if I can angle here. There we go. You just have to make do. Not every one of us has a big, beautiful yoga room, but that doesn't mean that we can't practice yoga. It doesn't take all of that. It takes you and your motivation and your consistency to get on your mat no matter where it is. So from here, start bending that right knee, and then we're just going to stack the right hip on top of the left, sending the foot over toward that left side. And if it felt okay, we're going to lift up onto the fingertips of the right hand, putting most of our weight into that left hand. And then if it felt okay from there, we could either reach this right arm up, or maybe we could reach back and grab hold of the right foot. If you are holding onto your foot, you're going to want to press the foot into the hand, and that's going to give us a nice sort of half bow, half candy cane pose, which gives us a lengthening stretch through that right quadricep. One more breath here. Feel your heart opening, maybe even turning toward the sky. And then if you do have hold of that foot, let it go. Bringing your hands back down to the ground, knees back down to the ground, and we'll pause here, pushing that reset button for child's pose. Resting the head on something. If it's not the ground, rest your head on your fists or a block, whatever you need to do. Just two more breaths here. And then slowly coming back up to the hands and the knees. I'm just going to turn a little bit so I'm not turning away from you all. So this time the right knee comes closer in towards your midline, and we extend that left leg out behind. And we activate through the core by turning the tip of that pinky toe downward. We try to keep the hips in alignment here at first. Eventually, this left hip will be higher than the right, but initially we want to have the hips in alignment. Take one more breath here. And then bending that left knee. We're going to lift the knee up, send that foot over toward the right side, keeping that activation through your core, coming up onto the fingertips of that left hand maybe. Staying there, or lifting that left arm up, or maybe grabbing hold of your left foot back behind you, pushing the foot into the hand. And this half candy cane, half bow, finding that opening through the heart center, through the chest. Almost as though the chest is going to try to spiral up toward the sky. And then release the foot. If you had hold of it, let the knee come down to the ground, let the hand come down to the ground. And we're going to come back into a sitting position. So this time, coming into that non-dominant crossing, or actually, let's all be on the same page here by putting this right leg in front, left leg is back behind you, okay? So for most of us, this, or actually be the other way, left leg in front, right leg back behind you. And for most of us, this is gonna be our non-dominant side, this left side, okay? So bringing your right hand onto the right hip and either putting the left hand on the ground or on a block here, depending on what you need. We're going to inhale center, and we're going to come into a pulse to where when we exhale, we root down through this left hand and we start to twist as we take this right hip off of the ground and we just twist towards this left side. Inhale back to center as we set that hip down, and then exhale, twisting. And then 3 more times like that. Inhale back to center and exhale, twist. Good. 2 more times. Inhale back to center. We're trying to bring some movement here in that right hip, right glute. Last time. Stay twisting, kind of facing this left side, and then bring the hands to where they're both in line with one another on the left side of your body. So if that's too much, then the blocks can provide a nice little bit of height for the hands and make it a bit more accessible. So see what's available to you. Take a big breath in. As the breath flows out, we're going to start walking the hands out. It's like we're doing a fold, but we're folding toward this left side of the body. Maybe we could put the elbows and forearms down to the ground. Maybe not. Just again, see what feels good to you. A lot of times the further we come into this fold, we will start to experience more gripping through the hips, lower back, glutes. And so if you are noticing that, and see if you can let go, see if you can release. Be here for just 2 more deep breaths. Keeping length through your spine, 1 last breath. And then stay in your twist. To come out, we stay in the twist, but we just walk the hands up so that we come out of the fold, and then we come out of that twist. Okay? So we're going to change the crossing of the legs now. Now it's the right leg in front, left leg back behind. Left hand on that left hip, right hand is on the ground, kind of in line with that right hip. Inhale, center. We're going to do 5 of these pulses. As we exhale, we twist towards this right side, lifting that left hip off of the ground, and then inhale back to center. 4 more times. Twisting and coming back. Exhale and twist. Inhale, coming back to center. Maybe each time we pulse, we feel things lengthening, softening, letting go. And back to center. 1 more time, twisting. And then we stay in the twist. We bring both hands onto the right side on the ground, taking a big breath in. As the breath flows out, walking the hands out, coming into our fold. And you might just stay, pretty high. You might even have your hands on blocks, and that's where we stay. And that's just fine. See where it is that you need to be One of the indicators, one of the biggest indicators that we've pushed beyond where we need to be is if there is any pain, but also is if we have a hard time remaining still. If we're fidgeting and we can't quite get comfortable in a pose, then often that's an indicator that we've pushed beyond where we need to be, as well as if it's difficult to take a deep breath. Those are three main things to look for. Let's take 2 more breaths wherever you are. And then slowly start to walk your hands back in as you come upright. And then we come out of the twist and face back towards the front. Bringing the soles of the feet together, bound angle. So when you come into bound angle, your knees are higher than your hips, then that's when you're probably going to want to sit on the edge of a blanket or on the edge of a block, because that can give you a lot more height through the hips, and it can help create more space so that those knees will go down a little bit further. Another way that we can modify is we can bring the feet further away from us and come into more of a star pose positioning than bound angle. And so just doing whatever modification you need here. And we're going to take a fold with this. So I'm going to turn and show you what we're going to look out for. I want to make sure that, first of all, when you come into bound angle, you're rounding. And you can't quite sit up nice and tall. That's another reason that we might take that block, okay, and sit on the edge of it, because we want to have this nice extension through the spine, especially if we're contemplating doing the fold. So if you are coming into your fold, just sitting up nice and tall, inhale, and then as you exhale, just finding that fold wherever it needs to be. Breathe. One more breath here. And then we'll just slowly walk the hands back in as we come upright. If you are sitting on the edge of a block, go ahead and come off of that block. And then I'll face back to the front. We're going to extend this left leg out to the side and come into a little more folding. So folds, or forward folds, are really cooling poses. They're good to practice at night, and that's going to help kind of balance out the back bends that we're getting ready to do, more back bending movements that we're getting ready to do. So just walking the hands out so we get a nice stretch through that inner left thigh. I keep those sits bones grounded. Make sure that your left knee is in a micro bend. We're not locking that knee out at any point. Relaxing the shoulders, softening, surrendering into this forward fold. Especially through that heart area, just seeing if you can release. Slowly walk your hands back in as you come upright. We're going to come into a side bend here. So rest your left arm on top of that left leg. If you needed a strap here, you could lasso up that left foot, but it's, you don't have to necessarily hold onto the foot either. You could just rest your arm on top of the leg. Inhale, right arm up, and then as we exhale, just folding over the leg. So here we're in a side bend and a fold at the same time. Now keeping this top arm reaching as it is, we're going to take the bottom arm, reach across the midline of the body like you're trying to grab for your opposite knee, and then see if you can bring that left shoulder closer toward the leg, and then slowly make your way back upright. I'm going to change legs. So now this right leg extends out, inhale. And as we exhale, we'll fold forward over the legs. So now we feel this nice opening stretch through that right inner thigh. Neck is long, shoulders are relaxed. And we're not caving in through the chest. A lot of times when we forward fold, we'll cave into the chest rather than reaching out through that heart center out in front of us. Let's take one more breath here. And then on your next inhalation, slowly start walking your hands back in as you come upright. So here's where our 2 blocks will come in handy. We're going to do a nice big heart opener. So this is the one where you essentially have 1 block. It'll be on its side. And this is the hardest one to position because it's going to go basically under the shoulder blades, kind of where, I guess more so where your bra strap is for the ladies. It's just the very bottom of the shoulder blades that are actually resting on the block. The rest of the shoulders are kind of spilling over the back of that block. Then once that's positioned, that's the most challenging block to get into place. But once it is put into place, we have this nice big opening through the chest. And then we would just grab hold of the other block and position it to where it's tall, and we're just resting the back of the head, the scalp. Okay, so here we go. I had to take my ponytail out because it was in the way. First, we position ourselves onto the block that goes under the chest. And so as you can see here, once it gets under the chest where it needs to be, we have this big exaggerated openness through that heart center. And then I'm just resting the palms of my hands facing up toward the ceiling, toward the sky. My knees are bent. You might extend your legs. Some people like to cross their legs here. I like to just do a variation of things, but for tonight, I'm going to keep the legs bent, keep the knees bent. And then with each inhalation, you feel the chest expanding a little more, but we also want to feel the navel moving. So as we inhale, there's movement to the navel, moving away from the spine, and as we exhale, it pulls back in. It's a subtle movement. We want to make sure that that diaphragmatic breathing, that belly breath, is taking place. Nice, calming. Inspiring this sense of peacefulness. You know, we get on our yoga mats and we engage in self-care. We are showing ourselves peace. And if we want to show that to others, then we have to be able to show that to ourselves and experience that ourselves first. We have to hone that ability. So don't think about self-care as being selfish, but rather your preventative, just a part of your healthy routine, a part of taking care of yourself so that you have the strength and you have the energy to take care of others too. Just a few more breaths here. This is a nice posture corrector. We do this one quite a bit. To come out when you're ready, you're going to bring your hands close in by the hips. Stay on the block that's underneath your chest. And at first we just lift the head only and look out in front of you, kind of in between the knees. And then from there, really pushing into the forearms, the elbows, and then the hands as we come up and away from that block. Move your blocks out of your way. And then when you're ready from there, just slowly lower down onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. Once you come down and just rock side to side. Breathing. Now hug that right knee into the chest tightly. Left foot is resting on the ground. And see if you can extend that left leg. We're going to come into a nice twisting, recline twist. So it might just be to take that right knee slightly across the midline of the body and keep that right shoulder grounded. Over time, you may be able to go a bit deeper. The main thing is that we keep the right shoulder grounded. As soon as that right shoulder starts, lifting up off of the ground, we've lost the integrity of the twist. And so you can either look up toward your ceiling or the sky, or you can look toward the right side. Every inhalation, feel yourself extending through the right side of the body. And every exhalation, feel yourself twisting a little more deeply. Slowly rolling back to center. We're going to take this right foot, grab hold of that foot as we come into happy baby. So this right knee is on the right side of the body. If you can't quite grab the foot, you could always sort of hold on to your shin, or even, use your hand in the back of the thigh to modify there. You want to keep this left hip grounded as best you can. Sometimes I like to put my left hand on my left frontal hip bone just to remind me to keep that side heavy so I don't tip to the right. And release. Now hugging that left knee into the chest deeply. Extend the right leg if you can. If not, then keep that knee bent. If you need to keep the knee bent, see how much you can extend the leg while still keeping the knee bent, though, because we're going to need to give ourselves some room for this twist. So grab hold of that left knee with the right hand. Left arm is out by your side. Think about this left shoulder being heavy, because as we exhale, we're either just going to take the leg across a tiny bit, or maybe we can really roll toward the outer edge of that right hip. Still keeping my left shoulder on the ground. I'm either looking to the left side or I'm looking up toward the ceiling. Either way. One more breath. And then slowly coming back to center, grabbing hold of the foot, the shin, the thigh, whatever you can reach as we bring that left knee closer and closer toward the ground. Keeping the right hip grounded. You want to feel at least a part of the right glute grouping, right side glutes on the ground, okay? Making contact, because otherwise we'll tip to this left side. One more breath and release. So take your time finding whatever props you need to make yourself comfortable. So I like to have a pillow or a blanket under my head, because that just gives me some height. It feels really nice on the neck. You can extend your legs, or you could roll up a blanket or your mat and put that under your knees for a little more lower back support. Just like we did at the beginning, where we were evening our weight distribution out between both sides of the body, we're doing this here, except for this time we're lying down rather than sitting. So just feel your weight evenly distributing both sides, and breathing here. It's an evening practice. We had some movement, but we kept it very gentle, very basic, and we do that on purpose. It's not the best time of day, nighttime, to practice a very powerful vinyasa practice, because it could keep us from being able to settle in and rest for the evening. So stay where you are in whatever resting position you are. I'm just going to sit up so it makes it a little easier to talk us through. And so maybe your eyes are closed, maybe they're open. Either way, allow the eyes to soften. So that it's as though the eyes are just simply resting behind the cheeks. And from the eyes, allow that softening, that relaxation to start spreading through the face. Broadening the cheeks away from the nose toward your ears. Releasing through your jaw, so resting the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And then letting the upper teeth slightly part from the lower teeth to rest the jaw, that mandible muscle, that strongest muscle in the body. Let that surrender, that relaxation, keep spreading into the rest of your body, moving down the neck, into the shoulders, softening through the chest and front body, the backs of the shoulders, back body, but keeping that lift through the sternum, keeping that openness through the chest, sitting up nice and tall, but relaxing, or not keeping your alignment nice and tall, but relaxing through it so that you're not holding your body in a rigid way. A lot of times, even when we are lying down, we might notice that there's tension in the shoulders. They won't quite release and rest. And so if that's something that's happening, just keep rolling them open. Maybe rest the palms of the hands facing up towards the ceiling to help release the shoulders more. And then just sending that surrender down over the solar plexus to the front body, mid-back body, and then down into the lower part of the torso, the abdomen, lower back, and back body. The arms rest on the ground. Let the arms be heavy, as arm bones are heavy, and so they're resting, and allows for the muscle to release its grip. And then start sending that release through the lower part of the body. So allowing the hips, the glutes, the groin to release. Sending that down into the legs, over the knees, the lower legs into your feet. Daily self-care, where we engage in mindfulness, where we engage in relaxation, is good training for the mind. It helps us to be more relaxed and draw from those benefits, but it also helps us to hopefully take some of this training, some of this that we're learning off of the mat and into the rest of the world, so that when we interact with each other, we do so in a more open, kind, and less reactive way, even if we're faced with confrontation. We're still able to draw from our yoga practice and engage in some emotional regulation, where yes, we can feel angry, and yes, we can feel frustrated, but that doesn't mean that we are justified in taking that anger out or taking that frustration out on the people that we love and respect, or maybe the people that we share a family with, or maybe the people that we share a workplace with. Just a few more breaths here with that intention. body. Start to bring movement slowly, patiently back into the body, taking all the time that you need here. So there's no rush. So there's no risk in injuring ourselves by coming up too fast or making ourselves dizzy. Listening, honoring to the very end. When you do come back upright, take your time finding that alignment. Feeling grounded. And then bring the palms together at your heart center. So happy Peace Day, happy International Peace Day. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Remember, we're here every Monday, 6:30. And also, one announcement, mark your calendars for a free event that's coming up October the 24th. We're actually going to be doing Yoga Fest a little later this year. We're going to have about 9 instructors. So it's going to last from, it's going to be on October 24th, noon to 5. And this year, rather than it being at the AMP, because we weren't able to have it there with the COVID, we're going to have it at Printer's Ale, here, that local brewery here in town. So October 24th, noon to 5, free, awesome yoga event. This will be our 9th year doing Yoga Fest, so I hope that you all can come. Be looking. I'll be posting about t-shirts and other information. So thank you so much for joining, and have a restful evening. Namaste.